All right, everybody, welcome back. This is going to be another best of three series in our Alpha Navigators Cup, weekly number 26. And this is going to be played out in the semifinals of the winner's bracket. And we see here in our blue vanguard is TDG, aka Scan. And his opponent is going to be Wallace in the red Infernal. We see Wallace already opening Conclave and then a slightly later Vault. And we also see there was some doggone Hexen violence here out in the middle of the map already. That Hexen had to scoot her way back home. And it doesn't look like she sent a skull to go scout into Scan's base. That means she's not going to know what's going on. She's instead having to protect her imps back home. And what is going on in Scan's base is there are bobs. There are bobs there, and they are mining. There's not much to maybe learn there other than there's nothing else going on out there. We already have two gaunts onto the map, and now we're seeing some overcharged bobs head on down to the low ground of the natural and start building that command post, while the gaunts of Wallace are moving out, and the dog spots them and is probably going to try and be annoying. We see a skull going down on one of the slimes. It's the Hexen who's tanking here, and that allowed the dog to go get a pot shot. I'm not sure if the dog was able to get a last hit or not. Trying to be annoying with the pup by either stealing some of these kills or maybe sniping a unit like the Hexen, who's now quite low. There is a healing cabbage right over here. She might be heading towards it, or it may have already been... might have already been eaten by the old scout that's out on the map. Looks like he went and got another. There's another healing cabbage over there. And Wallace is just going to continue with his creeping. A lot of his units are low. His Hexen and his a couple of his fiends are low as well. But so far doing all right. Actually, no. Wow, got lucky there as those Shadow Massives decide to disengage. They're focused right on top of that Hexen, and she's incredibly low. What's she at now? She's at 23. And that dog is still out, trying to be a little annoying. But remember that Scan went command post first. We now see a Rax out. There is a single Lancer there as well. And now there's a Scout Fiend coming in. Ooh, just chopped in half by that Lancer. And the rest of this force, looks like there's a Brute been added here. And we still have that pretty low Hexen there. Wonder if she has been able to find a cabbage or not. Dog might be out there eating them all. This dog's coming, stolen the speed camp. And there's already an imp going out to make the third base. I assume Hexen are girls. That's my brain logic, my brain canon, head canon. That's what they call it. That's because of Hex, like a witch. That's where I get that. I think don't look too closely at them. Okay, I think they're women. And looks like Wallace here has just continued creeping out, stole or sort of jacked the speed camp on the other side of the map. Now we see some of his speedy fiends heading out. And, okay, so they're going to try and chase the dog away from the vision camp. Wow, this force is starting to look pretty big. And remember, this is a force that's being created while Wallace is also expanding. So he's up onto a third base. So this is not just like an all-in kind of army, but it is looking pretty big to me. And maybe that's just because we saw that Scan went more of an eco first and his army's just looking a little smaller. But these, these four Lancers here are not to be, ignored. They're pretty tough, especially now they got those little speedy legs on them. Now we see this dog trying to get chased up. Wow, even more gaunts being added here. So a lot of units being pushed out by Wallace. That dog going down, and those Lancers maybe deciding, I don't know, we're pretty tough, but I don't know if we can take down that whole... Look how many gaunts there are there now. So if there was going to be one of those sort of earlier Lancer pushes coming in, I think Scan maybe decided against it, and here he is retreating. We can see that kinetic redirect has already finished, so those Lancers got extra little speedy legs to get away. And I was wondering where the rest of that Lancer force was. Well, they were clearing out the healing camp there. Look how many Lancers. So maybe this is different. I've seen a sort of one base 5 Lancer push, and this is more of a 2 base, maybe 10 Lancer push. And that's a lot of Lancers there. There are 3 Brutes there that can do some tanking, but some... Oh, look, with the kinetic redirect, the Lancers are able to rush right on top of the Gaunts, and we're starting to see Gaunts just getting chewed up by those Lances. And Wallace is going to have to retreat back. His low Gaunt gets taken out. Now a Brute turns to fight just to delay these Lancers a little more, but now they're into the choke. We see Imps behind them. These Imps are mineral walking through. They're about... Oh, wow, that's very dangerous. They all made it through. A couple of them very low. And we're going to see focus fire now from Scan on this shrine. But no, he turns and he fights on the Gaunts again. As the Gaunts come out, again, we see all those kinetic redirect giving those Lancers some speedy legs. And I don't think a single Lancer has gone down yet. A couple of them are low. But partly because of the redirect as well, they can run around a lot, and that just messes with the targeting. So even if the units were targeting down maybe a low one, if they can move their way out of there, it might retarget on one of the stronger ones. We see a lot of promotes here, a lot of veterancy from these units too, probably from all those Gaunts they killed. 4 more Brutes come out to try and force this. We saw a lot of Imps go down there. These Brutes are also going to be cleaned up. But the Lancers... Ooh, there's a Mag now, and this is one thing that can deal with it. Although the Mag does pull back. Unfortunately, using his trample a little bit too early there. But yeah, the Lancers do have to respect the Mag, and they are going to run out of there. But look at this. I don't think he lost a single Lancer. And that's the strength of this push. His army is effectively stronger now than it was ahead of time because of the veterancy from all those kills. And if he can keep these alive by getting some medtechs out or having them go soak in the healing juices of the healing camp for a while, then these are going to be very useful units into the mid and late game. So that's the strength of some of these Lancer pushes that you're seeing more common in Vanguard versus Infernal these days. Is if you can preserve those units and get that veterancy off, plus deal some damage, it's a real good way to set you up for being ahead in the mid to late game. Now we do see Wallace putting down, it looks like 3 farms here, plus a Shroud Stone, couple more Conclaves for production. He did lose some Imps, but the Lancers were not able to take out either of these shrines. So this shrine's at about half life, a little less. This one took some damage as well. This Shroud Stone was in a good place at the time, but it's a little bit in the back now. And it looks like Wallace has returned to, now that his camps have respawned, to creep them out. We do see a Scout Lancer here. Ooh, a ton of speedy leg beans there. Are able to take it out with that surround. Oh, but Mag's moving forward to do a little bit of tanking there. And these Shadow Demons are pretty tanky themselves, especially on the 2nd rank that we're on. They also deal some pretty serious damage. We see one of those, see that Mag. Ooh, he tried to eat the cabbage, but they wouldn't let him. Oh, get out there, buddy. Jump. Now eat that Fiend too. Eat him. Eat him. The Fiend wanted to be eat. Okay, well, he didn't get eat. I am a huge fan of the Magmadon Chomp. You know, most people like the Stomp, but I am a big fan of the Chomp because the Chomp re-heals all that white health. So this bad boy, are you going to eat this cabbage too on the way, boy? Come on, yum, yum, yum. Nope, 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 nope. Save it for later. Nom, nom, nom. Okay, here we go. Some more creeping of this vision camp. This time it's the Brutes that are going to do the tanking. And we see how fast that one Brute goes out. Boom, 3 hits from these Shadow Demons. Look like both of them were focused on him. And that's, again, just testament to how tanky and how tough those Shadow Demons are, but also as they move up in the ranks. The second, third, fourth time you have to clear that camp, they get tougher and tougher. We're now seeing Wallace pretty much committing to this mag tech. We has 4 mags now. He's now also got a Weaver. And are we seeing any upgrades? We don't see either of the upgrades yet on the mags. And let's just do a quick check while he's creeping here. He does have a Hellforge. Okay, there we have the Demon Hoof Tremors coming down. He also has his Ritual Chamber out, and I imagine that's because his gaunts are well upgraded already. Yes, so it looks like he's committed first to his gaunt upgrades. And now he's focusing on those Magmadon and maybe Brute upgrades too. I think the Brute upgrades are still... Oop, that's not a Brute. I think they're still bugged out here. I'm not sure. They won't tell us if they've upgraded or not. There's a nasty little Lancer trying to come and steal Speed Camp, but the Weaver lashes him in. And let's take a look at what we've got going on for Scan here. So we've been focused on Wallace for a bit, and he's built up that Mag army, but we've got Vulcans added in here. It's actually 6 Vulcans. That's a pretty nasty amount of Vulcans. They're going to have no problem dealing with pretty much any tier 1 units that we see out of Wallace. They just mow down Fiends and Gaunts, and Brutes. You know, Brutes aren't exactly wimpy against them, but it's just that splash damage can mow down, so really deal with some Brute HP before they even get close. Especially if they've spun up. And here we go. Here's a little bit of combat. Now these Weavers can lash in the Vulcans, but they're just out of position right now, and they get caught, and one goes down. So Wallace has repositioned his units a little bit. We also see a Harbinger above. That can help. Maybe if it's got the stun upgrade, it can help by stunning some units. It can also drop mags down on the back line. And it can also just provide Shroud. Now we see a little bit of a flank. Unfortunately, those Gaunts were on move command and they got mowed down by these Vulcans. This is what I'm talking about. Now the Mags try and get into the front there to do some tanking. One of the Mags going down, another one going down. These Vulcans are just lining up their shots now. So much damage. So many Infernal units going down. A few of them trailing in the back there, but it looks like these Vulcans with their Bio Escort was enough to deal with that army. We have a small little force up here just trying to fight a Lancer, and it's sad to see that that Lancer alone can kind of tank everyone. Lash going down on a Vulcan, but just not enough DPS over here to deal with it, and now those Vulcans pushing forward onto the ramp. So many Vulcans here. Still, several of them are low, but that's going to be a GG well played out of Wallace in game 1. Alright, here we are in game number 2 between these two. This is going to be Scan in the blue Vanguard, and his opponent, Wallace, in the red Infernal. And Wallace put in a pretty good fight against Scan last time. Unfortunately, taking a little bit of damage in the early game, or early to mid game there, and I think that just set him back a little bit. Nonetheless, was able to macro up pretty well, and that last battle just went in Scan's favor. So many Vulcans, and maybe what Wallace needed was just to get out and maybe be a little bit more aggressive earlier before that critical mass of Vulcans were able to build up. And right now this pup's trying to be annoying and chew on some imp legs. Finally getting some Shroud Skin off of some of these imps. Not focus firing any one imp, which I think just means he's kind of just on auto attack here and trying to be annoying. Meanwhile, the Hexen marched across the map and said, hey, what are you doing? You just got Bobs? You're not going to build any units? And she does march to the low ground. One thing she can do there is try and block the command post for a minute, but she chooses not to, chooses to do her little dance and comes home. And we do see a couple Gaunts coming out, and it looks like creeping is the order of business for Wallace, which of course is part of the standard opening for the Infernal. Try and get creeping as soon as possible. And here we have Wallace creeping these nasty Shadow Mastiffs. They can be a pain in the butt, but again, Gaunts at least are a little easier to focus fire down. They don't usually have to reposition to focus fire like your Brutes do. Ooh, I think that was a misclick, focus firing down his own effigy. trying to get the dog instead. And finally cleaning them up. I don't think Scan's dog was able to get any last hits, at least none that I noticed. And he's over here going to eat the healing cabbage up, back up to full. And it was speed camp first into the health camp here for Wallace. And this dog trying to be annoying. Gets on top of a gaunt. Is he going to get it? He's so low. Oh, nice body block. Nice body block. He wants it. He wants it. Yes, he's hungry. He gets it. Kills the gaunt and then runs away. Says, I know where there's some more cabbages I can eat. Let's see if he finds one. Couple brutes being added here to back up this army after that gaunt loss. Where's that other cabbage? I think there's one over here. There it is. Meanwhile, the brutes and while the remaining gaunt are creeping out here. And what do we see? We do not see any added tech yet. No ritual chamber. Okay, so it's going to be another shrine going down. Third base, quick. And remember, this was a early expo for Scan as well, so this might just be Wallace trying to stay ahead in the eco, which is often what you're going to have to try and do as an Infernal if you're going to not do some early game aggression. You need to stay ahead in the eco. Puppy Dog here steals the speed camp, but this speed camp is taken as well. So again, Wallace getting ahead in the creeping and the creep income, taking more camps. We do see the health camp having been taken by the first Lancers out. I wonder if we're going to get that same Lancer play. We do see more Lancers and yeah, kinetic redirect being researched. So we'll see that. Now, the version of this that I've seen before also involves getting to tier 2 so that you can get the promote and use that to get some veterancy on those Lancers, making them even more threatening. But instead it looks like here we've got some overcharged Bobs building 3 racks at a time. So definitely going heavy into some bio play, and kinetic redirect almost done, and yeah, some more Lancers about to pop. And Scan here, I like this, 2 Lancers to steal this camp. Not showing off his other Lancers. Leaving it to Wallace to try and infer what that's going to look like. Ooh, and also chopping some trees here with a lumber bob. Okay, so Wallace, again, has a pretty strong early game army, which is good to try and deal with what is coming. But what is coming? Ooh. Okay. So, yeah, they chose to go a slightly different path, and I'm not too surprised here. This is very common when I see these Lancer pushes, especially on maps with speed camps, is the Lancers will often try and grab both camps first, because then they're extra speedy. They have the passive, and in this case they have the lightning legs as well, and they're actually going to get on top of these imps right away, and these imps are... They're not long for this world. They could run, but there's nowhere to run. The Lancers will chase you down. And now that army is coming in. There is only 5, 6 Lancers here, but we see these other Lancers coming in. One coming in the back. Unfortunately, I thought this was going to be a good flank, but this guy, unfortunately... But look, Wallace is chasing that Lancer down. That is not good news, because that gave Scan enough time to focus fire down this shrine, and it is going to go down. Ooh, Scan did have to stay there maybe 1 second too late, but yeah, kinetic redirect is enough to give these Lancers some speedy legs, and they rush away. So that was really good harass, and now these speedy lightning leg Lancers are going to come right on top of these gaunts. They're slow. Oh my goodness. Plus, they turn around to shoot, which just gives them kinetic redirect, which makes them even faster. A nice try with the Nightfall Infestation, but these Lancers are just too speedy, and they've got a full surround on these units. More units being pumped out on the high ground. Also a Manifest Shroudstone. Remember, it did get a little bit of a nerf there. It got nerfed in the sense that it no longer does double DP or double damage, but it still does double speed attacks, if I understand correctly, which means it is still doubling the DPS of a normal Shroudstone. when it gets summoned. Now we have some more bio being added. We've got some exos. They do have quick draw hustle already. There we go. We can see that activating on them as they fight these creeps. And it looks like Wallace is okay. He's going to go creeping. I thought maybe this was an aggressive force, but many of these brutes are really weak. So I doubt he's going to continue to push forward with this. Oh, but here come the bio from behind. And again, they're so speedy. They can run right on top of these units. And they do chase them away and recapture the speed camp. Perhaps lucky for Wallace, they didn't get chased down. Going for another third base. And do we have... Oh, we got 2 Shroud Stones there. We are up to Greater Shrine. And now we see maybe a tech switch to some Twilight Fire. So maybe some Airplay, some Spriggies. And unfortunately, this is going to get a cancel. There's just too much DPS there. And they just walk away. Back to the speed camp. We've got a third base down here for scan. And we are up to Central Command here as well. And what's this? A machine lab going down. Do we have a mech bay or something? I don't see. Okay. I didn't even know you could build that without having a mech bay. Or a hangar bay. But now I've learned. A couple mags out, and that it does have to be respected. But there's just so much bio here now. And remember, those Lancers were able to preserve themselves earlier. They didn't take any losses. The mags going down quickly with that heavy exo fire coming from the back. The Lancers doing the tanking, and now it's just up to the Lancers to clean up the rest of this. Ooh, very nice trample coming out with no stun, unfortunately, getting right on top of everything. But again, good micro from Scan. Focus fires down that Magmadon. Now it's just Gaunts, and those Gaunts are not going to be long for this world. There are a lot of Shroud Stones here, but as the Gaunts get cleaned up, bye-bye Shroud Stone. Here comes another mag. Again, with just some kiting, that's all that's going to be needed now. All of the Lancers got cleaned up, but the Exos do the bonus damage versus heavy, and that's all they needed to take care of that mag. It looks like they're just going to regroup here, heal up a bit, go grab the camp, wait for a few more Lancers to show up. Is that what we got? No, more. Yeah, more Lancers and Exos coming across the map. Just waiting to engage again, but the damage dealt from that first blow is probably enough. Some more units showing up. Again, more just rallying across the map. What do we have here? Yeah, those look like some Bobs heading for a 4th base. So Wallace, unfortunately, contained to 2 bases, while we see Scan working his way up to his 4th base. And that's going to be GG out of Wallace in Game 2. And Scan's going to advance to the Winners Bracket Finals.